Welcome to April and Debbie Dish the Truth on Weight Loss, where we share the raw, real, and sometimes messy truth about our weight loss journeys.
I am Debbie, a weight loss coach who has lost 100 pounds and am living life in maintenance 4 years later.
And I'm April, a weight loss coach, currently down 60 pounds and continuing my weight loss journey.
Together, we'll explore the ups, downs, and everything in between, showing you that lasting weight loss is possible no matter where you are on your path.
Yes. And that is something I'm addressing specifically in our intro this week. You'll see a difference if you've been listening. The intro has 75, and then today I said 60. So I thought about it, and we've talked about how I've gained, and Debbie has talked about how she has gained. And I thought, for me, if there's a significant number, not necessarily a couple pounds here and there, but 15 pounds is something that I think is worth acknowledging. And I don't look at that as a negative. I look at this as we want to share everything. And Debbie is sharing her maintenance journey, and I am sharing my in the thick of it journey towards a goal of a weight that I'm feel good about. So with that, in this year, I started therapy, very intense therapy, to work on some personal things that I want to work through. And I have been emotionally eating over that, which has affected the scale. So I want to represent that for others who are in the midst of their journey as well. Gains will happen, but you keep showing up and you keep working on it and keep learning and keep moving forward. And so I want to share that part of mine as well. I want to be very transparent. I know Debbie has things to say. I'm going to transfer it over to her, and then we'll get into the topic for the podcast.
Yes, so you know what, and I love that you are acknowledging the 60 pounds that you have still lost, and with the weight that you have put on this year, what why that is there, like emotionally eating, the awareness of what you're working through. And sometimes the choices that we make, like right now, it is worth it for you to work through those things and what you're working on in therapy. And it may not go hand in hand with weight loss right now, but later it will.
Yes, absolutely. And I spoke with my therapist about it last session about the eating and the gaining, and we acknowledged why that's happening and things that I can do also to work through that, but to know that it's going to get worse before it gets better situation. There's traumas that I'm working through with her. So, and there's, coaching, because we're both coaches and we talk about that. And coaching really is to help you look at your life now and goals and how you can achieve them and work through things that do trigger you. But when you have stuff in your life that might be a bigger trauma, um, there's therapists for that. It's a very different entity and what it
Mm.
represents and how it helps you. So I know because and thank you, Dad. I am still proud of the 60 pounds, absolutely. And I know I'm going to get to a weight that I feel good about in terms of my health, and that's very different. I wasn't always able to say that, but this is a process I need to go through to achieve that for myself. That's my journey. And I want it to be very transparent up front, and there's no shame in it. It's my journey. It's what I'm going through. It's my life. It's my growth. And I want it to, with the podcast that we're doing, it's all about being honest and talking about everything. So I want it. I wanted to incorporate that into the intro of where I'm at.
Yeah, because healing, we talk it, you're going through to heal and things get worse before they get better. And
Mhm.
it made me think of like when we're in the hospital, like, or doctors, like we have to go through the toughest part of the healing to get to the other side. And then the other side, the recovery, the, the just being right where we need to be is worth everything that we've gone through. So thank you for your honesty and transparency and all of that. It's so important.
Thanks.
And can you hear me or is my voice going wonky?
No, it's definitely much better. So Debbie can explain
Okay.
what she's going through right now and why we're not necessarily seeing her live face, but a picture of her for today.
Yes, so Kevin and I have made a big life change. Everybody knows or if you've been listening regularly, know that we've moved out to Lake Havasu City, Arizona, which we love. Um, but in our journey out here, we each had a different view of what that would look like. And I wanted to be a full-time RVer, and Kevin wanted and needed the security of having somewhere to land that was felt more like a home, which is what we did. Because feeling good for both of us is important, and I can feel good in a potato sack probably. And but because of decisions out here, it's a little more pricey than we anticipated, at least the place we were renting. So we decided to jump into full-time RVing. And well, that has been a podcast episode all on its own. We won't get into it all now, but it's been fun to learn. But right now we are without internet, so it's a little choppy, and we found it's a little better without my camera on. But if my voice becomes robotic a little bit, that is why. And thank you for understanding.
Yes, well, we do appreciate everybody's patience for how the audio might go today. But as Debbie has said, she'll have internet next week, I think, right? So it should clear
Yes,
up.
yeah.
Just one episode, but it sounds definitely much better with just the audio. So with the
Oh, good.
topic that we have today, Sonia had written in and said we often talk about plans for the day and writing down what we're going to eat for the day and how we want to show up, but we haven't yet talked about reviewing the day or assessing the day. And I thought that was a great point. So I appreciate her for writing in for that and bringing us to a point of something that is really relevant, I think, for everybody's journey. And definitely right now I can speak on it because when you review your day, that's how I was realizing I was eating emotionally because I was just doing things that were kind of off the plan and not what I had been doing for quite some time, just out of the norm again. So for me now, and when you make your plan, it's so important because you're like, okay, this is what my day is going to look like. And this is how I want to show up for my day. And you might write do a little journal. And then if you skip a step of assessing the day or reviewing your day, you are missing that opportunity of learning to move forward, right? So you need that time to look at, okay, what did I actually eat today? And if I wasn't following the plan that I set up for myself, why was that? There's no judgment about it. Well, you try not, want to work on not judging it because it's really the moment where you'll learn what triggers you have and where they're coming from and how you can put in action steps to move forward to handle it differently next time.
Yes, and it is, and the assessment is where we get to learn how to be honest with ourselves, because we
Mhm.
can sit down in the morning and make a plan for our perfect day, right? Like, this is
Mhm.
how my plan should look if I'm going to lose weight. And I think when we are beginning our weight loss journey, we may write on our planner what we think everybody would want to see if they picked up our planner.
Mhm.
Like, oh, look at, she's writing just what she should to lose weight. But we need to be honest with how we are going to show up in the day and what we are really going to eat. And I think getting to that space where you're making a plan for yourself and not for everybody else is where you're going to find success. But then it comes to the end of the day, and a lot of people, myself included, don't didn't like to assess at the beginning of my weight loss journey. And you know what? I'm going to be honest, not just at the beginning of my weight loss journey, all throughout my weight loss journey, especially on days when I didn't honor my plan, because assessing is all about being honest. And that's why it's so important, because you can look at your day and say, hey, this is where I didn't show up how I wanted. This is where I did show up how I wanted. You can say did or didn't, and you can make the change to move forward. But if you're making a plan without doing an assessing, you are missing out on the most valuable piece of learning for yourself and your roadmap forward.
Could not have said any of that better. I think that is an amazing point that you pointed out. And I can identify with completely about making the perfect plan. When I first started writing down what I was going to eat for the day, it had to be certain things, and this had to be perfect and clean as possible, and all of these things and all of these expectations I would put on myself. Now, I do strive to eat a certain way because I know my body feels best that way.
Yeah.
At the same time, I also learned that having some leeway and realistic things that I know I still will eat these things as well, and incorporating them into my lifestyle. So I think it's like one thing I learned with writing down food and the reviewing and the assessing of it. Some big takeaways that I had, and maybe Debbie has some that she can share. But for me, and again, to keep in mind when we talk about these things, it's all individual. And that's the point of
Mm.
reviewing and assessing the day, because you're going to, excuse me, that's the moment you are going to learn about yourself. So for me, I realized after my reviews and assessing that I do far better in my days when I have a higher protein breakfast and a more substantial breakfast. And um, than I do when I try to wait too long to eat or try to undercut my breakfast. I've learned that by writing it down and assessing it and realizing on the weekends, I sometimes my breakfast would take me like 5, 6 hours before I got hungry again. I'm like, what's the difference? Well, on the weekends, Kevin and I would have a little bit more of a substantial breakfast because we had more time to cook and have different things that we don't have time to necessarily make during the week. And it was more satisfying to me. I enjoyed it. I took time to eat it. It was all of these things that I learned that made a difference for me. So, and I totally relate to Debbie too when you talked about you didn't want to assess and review. And there are days that, I certainly didn't do it every single day, but majority of the time I did. And the days that I didn't were usually because I didn't want to face what I did choose to eat that day. And I think that that's such a powerful thing to overcome, the shame of the choices we've made, which is part of also why I talked about the weight gain, because shame does not move us forward in
Mm.
learning and growing about ourselves. Only understanding, wanting to learn, and compassion, and realizing like, okay, this is what works. Okay, that didn't work, or that wasn't worth it. That totally was worth it. All of these little things, or on days when I didn't get enough sleep, this is what I need to learn to plan for myself. I need to have more of this with me. Or, if you're not feeling well, maybe you buy a rotisserie chicken instead of having to cook, or all these little things that you learn about your days. I think it's super important to write down how you felt during the day. Did you get enough sleep? Did you drink all the water? Because I know for me, when I totally learned that from reviewing my days, that when I don't drink all of my water, I definitely am more snacky. That's 100% accurate for me. When I hit my water goal, the snacking and urges are far decreased, and my protein breakfast too. Those two are three, right? So my sleep and my protein breakfast and my water. When I hit all of those three things really well, my days are far easier in terms of food management. But through your journey, Debbie, I would love to, especially with being a maintenance, like you had to have learned so much from reviewing and assessing your days to move forward to get to the goal that you wanted to achieve.
Yes, and I love that you understand that you've learned from your assessing and looking at your plans that when you don't drink your water, you have more snacky days. Like those are things to learn. And I learned a lot of the same things. And, you know, in this journey to weight loss, we've talked about how it's a lonely journey, but we have support all around us. But we talk about if we don't assess at the end of the day, does it mean it didn't happen? No, it still happened. It meant that we are willing to look and learn and move ourselves forward. So I know that when I got to the point where being honest and writing down what I truly ate and how I showed up, it wasn't going to kill me. It wasn't going to hurt me. It was just going to make me more aware of how I showed up. It made it easier to do. And as hard as it may have been to write down that I ate 5 king size Hershey candy bars, like it gave me the opportunity to look at what I ate and then not just what I ate, but look at what happened during the day that could have triggered that eating. Was it a rough day at work where I was super busy and just felt like I needed to treat myself? I mean, I don't know any other way to say
Mhm.
it. Or, did I was I not feeling well? Did Kevin and I have a conversation that was hard? Did I reach out to my kids and they needed something and I felt I couldn't support them? You know what I mean? Because there's
Oh
very
yeah.
rarely is there not a why to why we're overeating. I don't think that
Mhm.
we can look at I ate 12 Oreos with toffee or 8 no I didn't. I ate 16 Oreo toffee crunch cookies last night. They were so good. Oh my gosh. If you've not had them, have them, maybe not 16 at once. But I also know when I went to bed that I could have beat myself up last night for having 16 cookies, half a burger, french fries. I mean, I ate a lot yesterday. And I even said to Kevin when we were at the grocery store buying food that I don't normally eat, this is not what I normally eat. I know that I am eating for a reason because I'm exhausted and I'm overwhelmed with what is going on in life. I'm buying it, but I'm not going to binge. Now, that's the statement I made walking through Albertsons. Some people may consider what I ate last night a binge. I don't think so because I ate way more than I needed. I felt sick after, but I also stopped,
Mhm.
and you don't always, I mean, we always end up stopping, right? But I
Mhm.
also know why I ate, and I assessed, even though I didn't write it down, I assessed everything I ate yesterday, and it allowed me to be compassionate because even though I overate and my belly hurt and it isn't how I wanted to show up, I understood why I showed up. I know what I can do to be compassionate with myself today. And if I hadn't have taken that time to assess, I wouldn't have had that learning to move me forward today. Now, how I show up today is another story, right? I mean, we got to learn from our assessments and show up differently, or learn and show up the same until we're ready to make the jump to the other.
Yes, absolutely. And I think when you were talking about you wouldn't have classified it as a binge, I think it's important to, we've talked about this in a different podcast, like what's the point of even labeling it anything other than just knowing you ate more than your body needed? Because when we attach binge to it, that's something that I worked on not as identifying as anymore as a binger because I wasn't. And because I didn't identify it, it helped me move forward away from it. And I think that when we look at reviewing our day and assessing it, when we don't attach, oh, I did bad, oh, I binged, oh, I overate, even overeating, like you're telling yourself you did something. This is a choice that made you not feel good. This is a choice you don't want to actively be making on a regular basis. But being aware of it, regardless of what you name it, you can name it a binge if you want. If you don't feel that words carry power, that's great too. But Debbie, you sitting there and looking at it and assessing it and realizing the moment and why you did it, that's where the work is. It doesn't matter what we call it. It matters taking that time to sit down and say, okay, I did this. I can see why I did this. What could I set up in the future for myself to not make that choice again if I don't want to, right? So the awareness and the taking time to assess each day and each time we eat more than our body needs, those are the learning moments that we build upon over time.
Yes, and it allows you to put a plan in place. Like, so I know
Mhm.
I still have out on that kitchen island those Oreos. And you know what? My brain just needs a little minute to think about something else. So I have already got planned. I'm reading Penny Marshall's autobiography. It is so good. I think it's called My Mother
Mhm.
Was Crazy. There are so many of us who could
Mhm.
make that same title for our books of our life story, including my kids. They could write it, use that title. But like, I enjoy that. I laugh reading that book. It keeps my brain happy. So today, when I'm feeling like, oh, I'm going to have cookies because I'm dealing with exhaustion, fear, overwhelm, I can also read my book because that brings me satisfaction as well. So, knowing yesterday how I showed up and how the choices I made, because I took the time to assess that and look at that, I now have a plan in place to help me make a different choice tonight.
I love that you found a book that makes you laugh, and I think that's a great testament to what can we do for ourselves in place of food to give us what we need. You need a release, laughter, a break from everything that you're going through with the transitions that you're going through, and that is normal for a human to need a break, and to have that in a different way from food is really what the goal is that we want to learn for ourselves over time, right? And even though you learn something, I think this is something too. I know I've gotten tripped up on this, especially recently with the what I'm going through and the weight I've gained. And I'll be interested to hear what you have to say too, Debbie. Is that you get to a point? So I was on a really, we'll say, oh, I was on a roll, right? I was doing everything great. I was losing weight, no problems, no bumps, which is not true. There was always bumps. There was always ups and downs, but it feels that way because when we hit a moment where we're having we'll say a pattern of bumps, it's a very bumpy road right now. And instead of just an occasional bump here and there, it feels like our brain tells us like, oh, you did so great then, and now you're not doing great. It's such a black and white perspective. But what it is that I learned in the past 3 years or so how to handle certain things. And I showed up differently and I moved forward. And that was so great. And now I started a process that has a lot of bumps and a lot of reliving uh, past traumas that bring up a lot of feelings in my body that I'm not quite prepared to deal with. And it's completely natural and normal that I went back to eating to deal with it. However, now that there's been some time, it's been a couple of months, I'm like, okay, I don't want to go through the rest of this process of therapy gaining the whole time. I came to a point where like I have to sit down and assess the situation and what can I put in place to deal with it. But my point is that life is going to keep coming and there's going to be new bumps that you're not prepared to. And to have the expectation that we're going to know how to handle every bump without food and to know the exact thing that our body would need to get that same effect is not a realistic expectation of ourselves. There's going to be losses, family loss, there's going to be job changes. You've moved. That's a huge transition that you haven't been through before because you had lived where you had lived for so long. So now you're trying to figure out how to navigate that. And those things take time. But if you're aware and you're making your plan for the day, and you're assessing it and reviewing it at the end of the day over time with the consistency of doing that, you will learn. And like you found a book, you could have, that other book you talked about a few podcasts ago, you didn't like it, you stopped reading it,
Mm.
but you kept looking for other things and you finally found a book that did work for you. And that's kind of what I'm trying to say, that just because one version doesn't work doesn't mean there's not another version that would work, if that makes sense.
It makes complete sense. And something I think is so important for all of us to remember, we did not come into this world with an owner's manual. We did not come
Mm.
into this world with how to show up perfectly for ourselves. Why? Because nothing is perfect. None of us are perfect. And when we remember that we get to create our own manual for living our best lives and we are the author of that, like that is powerful. Like you get to decide what is best for you and how to move you forward best with your life, whether it's weight loss or your goals. You you
Mhm.
have a plan. You get to create the plan. You get to assess it. Nobody else is going to be looking over your shoulder telling you you are right or wrong in how you're living your life, unless it's, I don't know, you're doing something wrong at work and your boss says something, or I don't know, you break the law. But day to day, living your life, right? You get to decide what is right for you and what is wrong. And why does something have to be wrong with what you're doing and how you're showing up? Maybe it isn't wrong. It's just an opportunity to learn. And I think when we approach ourselves with compassion and friendship and understanding and knowing that whatever we are doing, it isn't permanent unless we want it to be, and we can adjust. And life is fluid. Our choices are fluid. Our days are fluid. We've got to be willing to go with through the motions, and planning and assessing help keep us grounded as we are going through the motions and the uncertainty of life and choices.
Yeah, I agree. And in the terms of a practical assessment or review of the day, if you're thinking like, how do I do that? It's super simple. Like there's journals out there and books you can find, but you also, if you don't want to invest in that or don't have the money, grab a piece of paper. Okay, this is what's on my docket for today. I have to go to work. I have to cook dinner, whatever your plan is for the day. How do I want to fit in my meals and what do I want to choose to eat during that? You write it down. The end of the day or the next morning, whenever is best for you. I tend to review at night because that's the best time for me. But I look at like, okay, how did today go? Thinking about what were there any things that were stressful or trigger, like Debbie said, like had a heavy discussion with her husband or something like that. Write down what you did actually eat. Look at what you wrote down. If it was the same, I just kind of do a check mark. If there's any variance, I write down. If I ate too much for what I needed and I felt too full, I write that down. Like just look at your day, ask yourself those questions. And just like last week, so we put posts every day, journal posts. So keep a lookout in the Facebook page. There will be posts daily about this topic as well. And it won't be necessarily an official planning page or anything like that, but there'll be tips about it. And I hope that some of you found the journal prompts helpful. There's one that I'll post today and tomorrow as well. But I enjoy doing them. I found them helpful. And I love that people have reached out and found some of them helpful. So keep checking the Facebook page for that.
Yeah, and sent they journal prompts are so good, and I love that you're sharing them and that we have them on our page to help move everyone, at least to get our brain thinking and have different ideas. And so with that, and Sonia, thank you for writing in about the assessing. Remember to reach out
Yeah.
to us. Email us at April and Debbie dish the truth on weight loss at gmail.com. You can comment on our posts in Facebook, share however we can support you and answer your questions. Write in. We love talking about things, and thank you for sharing and supporting us. We truly appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you to everybody.
Yeah. So from my heart to your journey, I hope you have a great week.
Yes. And as always, wake up willing to do something that feels good to you.
Have a great day.
Bye.